In the late 19th century, a shadow fell over the growing frontier city of Austin, Texas. A series of brutal, unsolved crimes would soon become known as the Servant Girl Annihilator murders. Between December 1884 and December 1885, Austin was gripped by terror as a serial killer targeted the community. At the time, Austin was a rapidly expanding city, undergoing a period of intense urban and social transformation. The spree began on the night of December 30th, 1884, with the attack on Molly Smith. Over the course of 1 year, 8 people were confirmed killed, primarily black women working as domestic servants. Most victims were attacked at night within the safety of their homes or the servant quarters where they lived. The attacks were characterized by extreme brutality, involving mutilation and meticulous planning. The killer shared a disturbing pattern, dragging victims outdoors and using sharp weapons with increasing savagery. As the body count rose, a profound sense of panic and helplessness swept through the local community. The crimes exposed deep-seated racial and class tensions that defined the social landscape of the era. Austin's young police force struggled to cope with the unprecedented scale and violence of the spree. Hundreds of suspects were questioned and numerous arrests were made, but conclusive evidence remained elusive. Despite massive efforts and public pressure, not a single person was ever convicted for the murders. The name Servant Girl Annihilator was coined by the press, reportedly by the famous writer O. Henry. Porter was a resident of Austin at the time and observed the city's descent into fear firsthand. Toward the end of 1885, the killer's profile shifted, and 2 white women were also murdered. The death of Eula Phillips on Christmas Eve 1885 marked one of the final and most shocking attacks. That Christmas, instead of celebration, the city was filled with mourning and a desperate hunt for the killer. Then, just as abruptly as they had started, the murders ceased in late December 1885. Some have speculated about a link to Jack the Ripper, who would terrorize London just 3 years later. While theories of a shared identity persist, no definitive evidence has ever linked the 2 cases. The investigation was hampered by the limited forensic methods available to 19th-century law enforcement. The case represents one of the earliest examples of mass media coverage surrounding a serial killer in America. Today, the Servant Girl Annihilator murders remain a significant part of Texas folklore and criminal history. They continue to be the subject of intense study by historians and criminologists alike. The mystery endures as one of the first recorded instances of a serial killer on American soil. The identity of the Annihilator remains unknown, leaving a chilling void in the history of the frontier. While the city moved on, the legacy of that terrifying year is never truly forgotten. Thank you for exploring this dark chapter of history with us. In the annals of American legal history, one case stands alone, a murder solved by a voice from beyond the grave. This is the story of the Greenbrier Ghost, a haunting tale of justice from the mountains of West Virginia in 1897. It began with a sudden death and a grieving mother who refused to believe her daughter died of natural causes. Elva Zona Heister, known simply as Zona, was a young woman whose life took a tragic turn shortly after her marriage. She had recently married Erasmus Edward Shue, a local blacksmith with a mysterious past. In January 1897, just months after their wedding, Zona was found dead in her home. While the town doctor initially attributed it to everlasting faint, Zona's mother, Mary Jane Heister, suspected foul play. Then the extraordinary happened. Mary Jane claimed that Zona's ghost appeared to her over 4 consecutive nights. The spirit told a chilling story. She hadn't died naturally. She had been strangled by her husband. The ghost revealed a specific detail. Her neck had been broken at the first vertebra. Mary Jane took her story to the local prosecutor, who was initially skeptical, but eventually agreed to look closer. Driven by her persistence, authorities ordered Zona's body to be exhumed for a proper autopsy. The examination revealed exactly what the ghost had claimed. Zona's neck had indeed been broken. The windpipe was crushed and there were finger marks on her neck. It was clear. This was murder. Erasmus Shue was immediately arrested and charged with the murder of his wife. The trial took place in Lewisburg, West Virginia, drawing crowds from all over the county. The prosecution focused on the physical evidence found during the autopsy. The defense tried to discredit Mary Jane by highlighting her supernatural visions as the rambling of a grieving mother. But when she took the stand, her unwavering testimony about her daughter's ghost captivated the jury. It became the only case in U.S. history where testimony prompted by a ghost contributed to a murder conviction. After only an hour of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty. Xu was sentenced to life in prison, though he died just 3 years later from an epidemic. The Greenbrier ghost remains a unique landmark in legal lore, illustrating the intersection of science and belief. In Appalachia, the story has passed into folklore, a legend of a mother's love and a daughter's justice. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the truth cannot be buried, even in death. Today, a roadside marker near Sam Black Church commemorates the case for all who pass by. It stands as a testament to the time a ghost spoke in court and was finally heard. The case continues to inspire books, studies, and stories over a century later. A haunting mystery, a legal anomaly, and a legend that refuses to fade. The Greenbrier Ghost, where justice crossed the veil.
The 1860 Road Hill House murder was a crime that shocked Victorian Britain and changed the face of detective work forever. It began in the quiet village of Road, Wiltshire, at the home of the respectable Kent family. The Kents were a large family, living under the shadow of domestic tensions that were about to explode. On the morning of June 30th, 1860, the family woke to find 3-year-old Francis Saville Kent missing. His body was soon discovered, brutally murdered, and hidden in an outdoor privy on the grounds. The local police were overwhelmed, struggling to solve the crime amidst intense national press scrutiny. Scotland Yard dispatched Detective Inspector Jonathan Witcher, one of its first plainclothes investigators. Witcher's instincts quickly led him to 16-year-old Constance Kent, the victim's half-sister. He suspected she had disposed of a blood-stained nightdress to hide her involvement, but the public was outraged. To suspect a respectable young lady was seen as a violation of Victorian moral order. With insufficient evidence, the case against Constance collapsed, and Witcher's career was left in ruins. 5 years passed, and the mystery of Road Hill House seemed destined to remain unsolved. Then, in 1865, Constance Kent unexpectedly confessed to the murder while living in a religious home. She claimed her motive was jealousy and resentment towards her stepmother and half-brother. Constance was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment, finally closing the legal chapter of the case. While her confession was debated, it eventually vindicated Witcher's original investigative theory. The case inspired literary classics like Wilkie Collins's The Moonstone, often called the first modern detective novel. It spurred the professionalization of criminal investigation, highlighting the need for methodical detective work. The murder exposed deep-seated Victorian anxieties about domestic secrets and the fragility of middle-class morality. Today, the Road Hill House murder remains a landmark in British criminology and a subject of endless fascination. It challenged the way society viewed justice, class, and the hidden lives within the family home. The legacy of the case lives on in every modern crime investigation and detective story we tell, a haunting reminder that even in the quietest villages, dark secrets can reside behind closed doors. Francis Saville Kent's story continues to resonate over a century and a half later. Road, once a place of scandal, is now a quiet corner of history, forever linked to this tragic event. Witcher's legacy is the modern detective, relentless, methodical, and dedicated to the truth. Road Hill House stands still, its walls guarding the memory of that fateful June night. Thank you for exploring this landmark case in British history with us. Stay curious and keep investigating the stories that shaped our world. The Road Hill House murder, a landmark in British criminology.
In the heart of 18th century London, a tragedy unfolded that would shock the nation. Martha Ray, a woman of extraordinary talent and beauty, was the centre of high society intrigue. As the long-time mistress of Lord Sandwich, she navigated the glittering world of the aristocracy. Her voice, a pure soprano, filled the grandest halls, captivating all who heard her. But in the shadows, another was watching. James Hackman, a young clergyman driven by a dangerous devotion. What began as admiration spiraled into a consuming obsession that Hackman could not control. Rejection only fueled his fire, turning love into a desperate, volatile possessiveness. The night of April 7th, 1779 began like any other, with a performance at the Royal Opera House. As Martha exited the theatre, she had no idea it would be her final curtain call. Hackman was waiting. He stepped from the shadows, a pistol in each hand. In a single, violent moment, the celebrated soprano was gone, and the streets of London erupted in chaos. Hackman attempted to take his own life, but he was seized by the crowd and delivered to justice. The trial at Old Bailey became a public spectacle, capturing the fascination of all of Georgian England. His defence argued temporary insanity, a plea born of a heart broken by love. But the law was unmoved, the verdict was guilty, and the sentence was death. The murder was quickly transformed into a viral moral warning for the age. It served as a grim reminder of the dangers of unrestrained emotion and illicit desire. Hackman's journey from the pulpit to the gallows was complete. At Tyburn, thousands gathered to witness the final chapter of this tragic obsession. With the drop of a hat, the clergyman who loved too much met his end. Martha Ray was buried in a quiet ceremony, her voice silenced forever. Lord Sandwich, devastated, would never truly recover from the loss of his beloved mistress. The scandal echoed through the halls of power, changing the perception of public morality. It became the definitive cautionary tale, a warning that passion, when left unchecked, leads only to ruin. Long before the internet, this crime of passion went viral through pamphlets and songs. It remains one of the most documented and debated crimes of the Georgian era. Even today, the case of Ray and Hackman serves as a chilling study of the human heart, a story of talent, obsession, and the high price of a love that turned deadly. A reminder that behind the glitter of high society, the darkest shadows often hide.